So that is there. Brent had a good guess. Balsa plane, yeah. Ryan Ramsey's editing it up right now, so he knows. That's not fair. I'm glad you didn't say what it was. So here we go for the big reveal, although it's not so big, but it is pretty darn cute. This is the new E-flite UMX Air Tractor. So for those that are just joining in now, you may be joining live. If you are, great. If you're seeing this a little later on, quick hello to you as well. And so, yeah, we're live streaming this on our Facebook page for our retailers and our sales staff so they can get a little more information ahead of time. But you might, again, be seeing this video on YouTube down the road. There'll still be good information at that point. And there it is, guys, the E-flite UMX Air Tractor, which is admittedly a plane a lot of people have asked us to make for a while. Also, I know some people are going to go, oh my gosh, I knew you were going to make that. That's a no-brainer. And yeah, of course, you know, in a way, it's kind of a no-brainer. And I'll say there's a couple reasons why I think it's a no-brainer for a lot of people. Number one, the larger 1.5 meter model, we've been selling this for a number of years now. It's still a solid selling airplane, and there's a lot of reasons why. It's a great first low wing, first scale airplane for somebody that's graduating from a trainer. And let's say, you know, you bought an Aero Scout, then you moved into a Turbo Timber. You know, the 1.5 meter air tractor here is kind of like a low wing timber, essentially. A lot of guys have joked, oh, now that you did a twin timber, you should do a low wing timber, call it the lumber. I get it, it's pretty funny, and it would be funny to have a lumber, but we don't need a lumber because we have the air tractor. The air tractor is similar size and shape overall, just with the wing on the bottom, to a Turbo Timber. It's not quite as stow capable, but it's very close, and you know, it has oversized tires, so you can take off and land on rough surfaces. It's got functional flaps and lights. It's very much a lot of the details of the Turbo Timber 1.5 meter in a low wing package, but in a scale package. And some people like the looks of it. You know, it's not, I'll admit, personally, it's not the most attractive airplane in the world, but it's a neat looking airplane. And yellow is cool, it stands out, has great visibility. A lot of people have seen these real airplanes doing their job of dusting crops and other, you know, agricultural, even there's military applications. They have military versions of this now, which is pretty cool. So I'll put a link in the chat after this to a video for this. Please don't share that ahead of time before we announce it tomorrow officially. But in the video, you'll see the full scale, you'll see the 1.5 meter, and you'll see the little UMX here. And you know, the UMX is very similar to the large one. It's basically a low wing UMX Turbo Timber. You can see they're about the same size. Now, admittedly, the Turbo Timber has a little bit more wing area and is a little bit lighter because it's not fully painted, and it doesn't have the clear cockpit with the pilot figure in there and everything. So the high wing Turbo Timber is a little more stable than the low wing air tractor. That said, either one of these could be a second airplane for a lot of people. For sure, a good first low wing airplane, first scale airplane here in the air tractor. I think that's great. I think there's a reason for a lot of people to own both. You know, they fly different. They fly similar but different at the same time, and that's what I kind of like about them. Of course, they look very different. You know, you've got the different shape, the different color. We've got one that's scale with the clear cockpit with the pilot in there, a little instrument panel. The UMX Air Tractor does have functional flaps, just like the Turbo Timber does, just like the larger 1.5 meter model does. It has all the lights, the navigation lights, it has the landing lights, it has strobes, has all of those lights built in, just like the Turbo Timber. It's essentially got most of the same guts as the Turbo Timber. You got the flaps, you got the lights, you have the same 2S and 3S compatible motor, same prop. The control unit's the same, servos are the same. It's got different programming in the control unit because, of course, AS3X and Safe Select are tuned for this model. But it essentially is very much a low-wing alternative to the very popular UMX Turbo Timber Evolution, which, by the way, these outsold. I mean, these blew out the first shipment of these very quickly. We got more of these coming. It'll be a little while before we get more. In the meantime, this is a great alternative because, you know, a lot of people end up buying both anyway. This they might be able to get a little bit earlier. The day that you guys are seeing this video right now, we're getting ready to announce it publicly tomorrow, which is May 11th. We'll be shipping these in the US starting next week or the week after at the latest. We have a lot of these coming. It's always possible we'll sell out of the first shipment, you never know. So make sure to pre-order a lot. It's going into flying season. We're going into crop dusting season. It's like perfect timing for this airplane in particular. And you know, I think it's gonna do well for us because it's scale, it's low wing, it is stow capable, maybe not as stow capable as the Turbo Timber, but it's pretty close. It can take off very quickly and go straight up with a 3-cell battery. It does land in a relatively short distance because it's got the flaps, so you can kind of bring it in and plop it down, and that's kind of nice. It does have oversized tires, not as big, you'll see, as the Turbo Timber's tires, but still bigger than most of our ultra micros, which means you could take off and land with this on dirt surfaces, gravel surfaces, some grass, shorter grass than this turbo timber can handle, but it is equipped to be able to take off and land on more surfaces than most of our ultra micros. And of course you can hand launch it very easily as well. So I mentioned that it does have the 2S and the 3S compatible power system. So we've got the nice new style brushless Spectrum motor in there, which has great performance on a 2S, more than enough power for scale flying, for loops level flight, that kind of thing. Or if you put a 3S in, you've got unlimited vertical, you can hover, it's got great speed, plenty of thrust. It does use those same popular batteries that we've been selling for a number of years. Of course, I think many people are just going to go straight to the 3-cell 300, this Spectrum battery here, 3-cell 330C, which comes with the 2-pin JST RCY, so the more standard 2-pin red JST connector many people know. That, of course, is what's in the airplane, as is the case for most of our newer generation ultramicro airplanes. We do also now offer a 2-cell 350C battery with the JST RCY connector, and I will put links to all these batteries along with the item numbers in the descriptions for those that don't already stock them, don't already know them. This is a great alternative for people that don't want to use an adapter and want to use 2S. I will say, if you're flying this indoors, like in a basketball gym, you really kind of want probably 2 basketball gyms or a soccer field like you'll see in our video. 2S is better. We flew it on 3S just because we could, it was fun, but the 2S battery does make it a little lighter feeling. You can tell the difference. You can fly it a little slower. You don't have quite the pep, of course, but that might be good in especially a small space, or if you're flying in a tight backyard or something like that. So that 2-cell battery is available. And then, of course, a lot of people have the older E-flite blue 2S 280 batteries, 280 milliamp batteries, or these older 2S 300 milliamp 30C Spectrum batteries that have the 3-pin JST-PH connector. So that connector, of course, is one single connector, no separate balance connector, and we do make and offer that adapter which goes from that JST, that white 3-pin connector. You stick that on there, and boom, now we've got the 2-pin JST RCY. And the nice thing about that is, of course, that'll plug right in when you've got the adapter there. So there's that little adapter. So I'll put the item number and description for that adapter into the chat, into the description for this video, and maybe that first pinned comment if you're seeing this on YouTube later on. So that adapter, if you don't already have one of these, it's great to have. If you don't already stock these, it's great to have them, because a lot of people have those older E-flite batteries in particular. They may have some of these other batteries, these 2-cell 300s with that connector on there for other models, and then this adapter lets them use those batteries in this model, and of course the Turbo Timber and other 2S and 3S compatible models as well. All right, let's see if we got any other questions. Flies great, love the gear. Can knife edge on 2S? Yeah, so like Ryan found, this airplane, it's actually very, very aerobatic. I think looking at it, people wouldn't expect that, but I found with the big one, it can do all the basic aerobatics, loops, rolls, inverted flight, but it does really good knife edge. It does some pretty cool tumbles and kind of spins and things like that. It's a very stable airplane. Pretty darn easy to fly, but when you wind up the throws, or when you crank up the throws and you wind up the sticks, it has a lot of aerobatic capability. You'll see in a lot of the videos that'll get published in the next couple of days here, a lot of knife edge flying, because it's really well suited for that. It's got a good side area, pretty big rudder, doesn't have a lot of roll coupling or pitch coupling, and that makes it kind of nice. Of course, all the parts for this model are new. Pretty much all the airframe parts are new, because this is an all-new airplane, all new molds, all new parts that are specific to this model. A couple of quick notes on the parts. So on the larger Air Tractor 1.5 meter, this little like radiator thing here, this detail is actually the hatch latch. So you pull on that to get the hatch off. A lot of people, I think, when you take this out of the box, they're gonna think you should pull on that to take the hatch off. Don't do that. This hatch is attached in the front, so you wanna pull it in the front. That little radiator type detail is molded into the hatch. And that's intentional for looks, of course, but that's not what we want people to pull on to get this hatch off. They lift from the front, pulls back, then they can get the access to the battery compartment. So you may have guys damage that, break that, so they may have to buy a new hatch cover. It's possible you need to stock those. This aircraft is made from EPS foam. A lot of our more detailed, higher performance ultra micros are going to be EPS foam, because we can mold more panel lines and rivets and details into that foam. It's also lighter. And it's still a light enough airplane that even with EPS foam, it's pretty durable, but because it's EPS foam, in order to repair it, you have to use foam safe CA, or obviously a glue that's compatible with foam, like foam tack, foam to foam, epoxy, so on and so forth. You can't use regular CA because it will melt it, or regular accelerator will melt it. So that's something to keep in mind. If you break this off, you can glue it back on. That's not a big deal. Now the propeller, same propeller as the timber. If you already stock that, great, you're good to go. That's probably the part most people are potentially going to break. They may nose over, or they may have a little, not so great minimal crash where they don't necessarily damage major airframe components, so they can repair those, but they're going to break the prop. They're going to need to replace that. So you may want to stock that. Things like the landing gear, they're aluminum. People may bend them though on a hard landing, so they may need that. Outside of that, most of the parts you probably don't need to stock in your store. You can just special order them on an as-needed basis. But again, a lot of them are new, but the electronics inside, a lot of that's existing other than the control unit, which is new for this model because it's programmed for this model. It does have AS3X. Of course, it is optional use Safe Select out of the box. It does bind to any Spectrum 6+ channel DSM2 or DSM-X equipped transmitter. And I brought a couple transmitters to show you today. My all-time go-to favorite nowadays, my everyday radio that I recommend to everyone, NX8, 8 channels, which gets the job done more than enough for this model, for a lot of our larger aircraft that have more features and functions now. I really don't think an NX6, which is a pseudo 7-channel, 6.5 channel, or a DX6E is enough transmitter. These days, I highly recommend people go to an 8-channel transmitter. But that said, this is a next step airplane as well, potentially. You could use it as a second airplane if you wanted to. But the DXS transmitter that comes with a lot of our ready-to-fly basic airplanes, or previously our ready-to-fly airplanes, this is a 7-channel transmitter. It has plenty of channels to fly this model. The catch is that out of the box, the way this is set up for our trainer aircraft, the channel 5 is right here, which is the flight modes. Now with this model, that's the same. The AS3X and Safe Select are automatically assigned to channel 5 on all of our Ultra Micros, which on many air radios, like our higher channel count Spectrum transmitters, that's this big switch back in the back, the gear switch, the A switch. But for our trainers, we use the 3-position switch because we have beginner mode, intermediate, and experienced mode. On this model with Safe Select, you basically have safe on or beginner mode, then you have experienced, or AS3X. It's already done. But if you don't switch the model profile that's in here, what happens is channel 6 is this button. This is the panic button for our trainers. You hit this, you go into beginner mode for a few seconds. So this is channel 6. On the front of the transmitter, this switch, which is normally your flap switch for 6-channel airplanes, this is channel 7 on the DXS in stock form. Now, I'll post a link to the instructions in the chat, in the description for the video, first pinned comment, that will explain to you how to load one of the other model files that's in here so you can use this with this airplane or another airplane that has flaps or retracts. So when you do that, you hold the trim levers on, you turn it on, you tell it, hey, you've got pre-programmed files inside. I want to switch from that standard setup, which is good for trainers or 4-channel, maybe 5-channel simple airplanes, and I want to use it with an airplane that has flaps. You can switch to that profile, which then moves channel 6 to this switch on the front. Then it makes that button channel 7, which on this model doesn't do anything, and that's fine. So then the flaps are on that 3-position switch on the front, which is what you want. If you don't change it, what happens is the flaps are on the button. When you don't have the button pressed, the flaps are down. When you hold the button down, the flaps go up, but no one can hold that button down and fly it around at the same time. So you can switch the model profile to use it with this airplane or the Turbo Timber as well, or a larger aircraft like this one. Now, of course, the downside of a DXS as your transmitter is it doesn't have model memory. So if you're trying to use it with multiple aircraft, you have to rebind it every time, you have to retrim every time. This is not a practical radio for a person's long-term in the hobby. But if you just bought a trainer and you're ready for your second airplane or even your third airplane, and you're not ready to spend $250, $350, $500, $1,000 on a new radio, this will get you in the air without all the bells and whistles. Of course, it does not have elevator to flap mixing. Now with a high wing airplane like the Turbo Timber, if you put the flaps down, what will happen is it'll actually jump into the air, it'll loop on itself. So you don't want that to happen. That's why you need to load that other profile, but also you don't really want to use flaps on a high wing model like this. On a low wing model, it tends to pitch down, but a little bit, not a lot. So it'll work. Just something to keep in mind, but this DXS will work. So that's kind of nice. I see a little alert here, my battery's getting low. I've been using my computer pretty aggressively today. So before I run out of juice, are there any questions when it comes to this model or something else? And oh, by the way, hobby quarters, yeah, NX6 is plenty for this airplane. It's a 7-channel transmitter. This only needs a 6-channel transmitter to get the job done, so that's more than enough. NX6 for me personally, I don't recommend it to customers because they'll outgrow it. When they go to bigger airplanes like a Draco or EDF models, a lot of them will outgrow it. That's a problem. So something to watch out for. Real quick note on the price. This is the same price as the Turbo Timber Evolution. They both are $169.99 for the Bind and Fly Basic. They're only available that one version. It has all the same features. Lights, the flaps, the 2S and 3S power system. Of course, the difference on this guy, the only thing that's different between this and this is this one does not accept the optional floats. This one was not set up for floats. Most people probably